Welcome to our leadership program, where we talk about art projects to do with children that are aged 10 to 12. So today we're going to be doing a color wheel, and this is my participant, my son. So I want him to choose a brush to begin with. And the first things first, we need to make sure we have all the equipment. We've got water. We have water in a dish, but I also will be needing to change the water regularly. So I have a bucket to dump yucky water into, and we have paints, cadmium yellow. This one is red. That would be cadmium red. White, in case we want to adjust. And we have, I think I have cobalt blue here today. These are acrylic paints, and they work very well for this age group because children have learned how to use art products that are a little more sophisticated than just watercolors. Children have good attention span at this age. But first, to ground ourselves, we're going to do some breathing exercises. Also to ground myself, a few nerves. So, in this beautiful outdoor setting, we're going to do a few deep breaths. So with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And now we can settle down to do our color wheels. Here we have a lot of things that are from the recycling bin. These things, many people will find they have something similar. It's not a precise science, so I just pulled what I found. I'm going to now demonstrate moving along because we don't have a lot of time. What we're going to do first. And Owen. So the thing you want to remember is when you get your brush wet, go ahead and get your brush wet. You want to saturate it with water, but then you want to scrape it off. So you don't want it to be wet, you want it to be damp. Now, you can go ahead and put it in your paint. And maybe flip it over. Good. Do you feel like your brush is well saturated with your yellow paint?
I think so.
And this is the lightest color in our rainbow. So now you have in front of you a card. I pre-cut them just for simplicity so it wouldn't take up more time. So you're going to do a band across the top. Like that. And don't worry about perfection, but if you want to give it another stroke to wipe off some of the excess paint, that's okay too. Remember, what you're wanting to do is create a color wheel, so you're just applying color. You're creating a rainbow, essentially. Can you think of a time when you would have seen a rainbow that lasted and it made a lasting impression?
I was on the way to work a couple days ago and I saw a rainbow.
Nice. Okay, now we make water really dirty in this lesson, but you want to make sure you're not using mucky brushes. So I'm just going to rinse it off. Go ahead, you can rinse yours too. Now see what happens. No, you can keep using your brush. Make sure you scrape off the excess water. And see what happens when you mix. I put a little bit of red, the cadmium red. See what happens when you mix that with your yellow.
In the dish?
Yeah, go ahead. What have you got?
Orange.
Orange. Super. That's what you want. That's your next color. Your orange might be slightly different than my orange. There isn't a right or a wrong orange. Don't worry about that. Children of this age sometimes find precision to be a distraction, so it's important to understand that it doesn't have to be exact. It can be, there's a lot of right ways to do something. So go ahead and put your brush back on your card just below where you made a stripe of yellow. Now you have your orange. That looks great. Very nice. But as you keep going, now what color did you add, do you remember, to get your orange?
Cadmium red.
Very good. Thank you. So now I'm going to give you a bit of cadmium red all by itself, and yeah, make sure your brush is cleaned off. If you think the water is getting too yucky, we can just start fresh. So I'm just going to dump that because we don't want the water to be too yucky. So it's good to have fresh water on hand like this. So give your brush another wash. Okay, now give it a try in the red paint. Excellent. Okay, and now I think you know what to do next. My guess is you've got the idea. Looking good. So we're up to red. How many colors are in a rainbow? Do you remember? Do you remember what comes after red? Or goes next to red?
I guess it's technically 7. Because indigo, whatever that is.
Indigo. I think it's usually violet, but...
No, it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
Oh, look at you. You know your colors. Wearing colors. That's nice. Good shirt.
Tied.
Colorful personality. Alright, so here we go. After red, we can save a bit of time. Let's just scrape off the excess water. Now you're to create your next color, we're gonna add just a touch of blue, right? Oh, I might have put too much blue there. Maybe I'll share your blue. My camera person is indicating my time is almost up, but I'm gonna keep going, so thank you for indicating that I've got a time constraint, but let's just keep rolling. Now, this is something that can happen. You end up with a darker color than you wish. Now, I think that's nearly the purple I want, but something that can help that along is it just a touch of white. Is yours darker than you'd wish? Maybe? Yeah, maybe just a touch of white. We'll just lighten it up a little. See what happens when you add the white in. An art project is great for creative expression. I might have said that. I'm not quite sure. Too white. Well, let's give it a try anyway. Let's see what it looks like on the paper. Oh, you got really white. Maybe that did go a little too far. Let's see anyway. Give it a go. Maybe. What do you think would fix that? You have a little bit of here, if I may. We have a bit of red crawled up the side and a bit of blue crawled up the side, so maybe we can adjust it.
It's pink.
It's almost a purple. Let's try that. There we go. I think we got a purple going.
Very light purple.
It is a light purple. It might not be the most perfect match. Again, we're not going for perfection. We're going for a process where people learn about, our participants learn about color mixing. About how the colors mix with each other, work together, and how they can change a color by using a little bit of white just to change that up just a touch. Now, just to round the rainbow out, we are going to go full on blue next. And since we ended up with a lighter purple, we could try a little bit of white in the blue if you like, but you don't have to. You can just use blue if you like.
I would just use blue.
Just use blue. That is your choice. And having choice during the program is part of the experience. I think that a participant needs to be able to make their own choices. Certain amount of following the director, but making their own choices is important. Me, I think I'm going to add just a touch of white to my blue, just to create a lighter blue, just for fun. When messes happen, I'll be able to wipe that up later. Now, there's one last thing. We started at the top with yellow. So what do you think we might add to blue?
Yellow.
Yeah. And what do you think we're going to end up with?
Green.
We just might. just might. Here, I'm going to give you some yellow over here. And you can add as much or as little as you want. This helps with learning fine motor skills for this age group. They're developing social skills, and this is often done in a group setting, so that is another aspect that works well for this age group. In this case, I have one participant, but it would work well in a group.
Can I get some white?
Absolutely. Right there? Okay, I'm going to put it on the side, just so you can add as much or as little. As you see, I have a palette here. This is something that you can acquire at a dollar store for very cheap if you don't want to use something out of your recycling bin, but I don't expect everybody to have that.
I think I did a bit too much white. A bit too bright.
That happens. No problem. Even somebody who's done this many times can have trouble getting the color they want. Looks like I have a bit too much yellow. Oh, there we go. Now it's turning into green. Now I've got the green I want. Here we go. It's kind of a mucky green, a bit of an army green, but it's still a green.
Green's interesting as well.
Now a nice thing you can do with this, and I realize I've got a bit more card than I need. I got this card, by the way, from my sketchbook. This is a good thing, this is a good way to get paper of a good heavy cardstock. So any sketchbook will do. And then after, this was another project that I did. Afterward, you can use packing tape to do kind of a makeshift lamination. So I turned this thing that I made into a bookmark, which is kind of a nice thing to give as a Mother's Day gift, or keep it for yourself and your own reading needs. Oh, super green. That's almost emerald. Beautiful. Thank you very much to my participant, Bronwen. And that is my portion of the presentation of our leadership project. And on to my colleague.
Okay, thank you very much, Bronwen. So we're gonna, now that we're more comfortable with mixing colors, you know, an important thing for this age group is to move from a sitting activity that's more concentrated and focused to getting up and moving your bodies around. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go look around. We're on a beach right now, and we're gonna go find a rock, and we're gonna go paint on it. So when trying to pick out your rock, we want it to be a little bit flat. So that way, when you paint on it, you can put it down on a surface and it's not gonna roll around too much. It's gonna be nice and sturdy when you go to paint on it. And we want it to be about the height of a coffee cup, or about the size of half of my hand, maybe the size of 2 of your hands. It can be a little bit bigger, it can be a little bit smaller, but around that size is a good size rock. And one other thing that I'm going to ask for you to do is, while we're out here, we have a beautiful spot in nature, and I just want you to take some time to really look around and come back with your rock, and also one thing that you saw in nature that you thought was neat. So look up at the sky, look into the ocean. Remember to be respectful. If anything looks like it's living, we want to just look at it. We don't want to touch it. Let it live its happy life. And we're gonna spend about 5 minutes kind of looking around. And then when you hear the whistle, we're gonna meet back at our art spaces and we'll discuss what we saw in nature. And just in terms of boundaries, we don't want to go, I'll do a quick panorama. So we have a nice spot over there, and there's lots of cool stuff to look at over there, but I don't want you going around the corner. And if you go over that way, I don't want you going up on the big rocks over there, so stick to where I can see you. Okay, so we'll meet back here in 5 minutes. So one more time, we're looking for how many rocks? 1 rock, good. And what is the shape of the rock? A flat rock, good. And how big is the rock? It's about the size of 2 hands or a coffee cup, that's good. And what else are we looking for? Something in nature that we like, that's good. Okay, and so off my participants go. I'm gonna keep an eye on them. I'm in an enclosed area right now, but a good thing to keep in consideration is, if you're not in an enclosed area, is to set boundaries as to where they can go and where they should stick to, for safety reasons. So you can do things like the buddy system if you have a large group, but it's also a comfortable thing, making sure that all the children know that, this is a safe space, they're allowed to be here, they feel comfortable here, that kind of thing. So while my participants are out looking at nature and trying to find a rock, there's some cognitive developmental points that are important to know when working with this age group. The first one being is that they're able to switch from one activity to another fairly easily, or variations within the same activity. So, when it's going from doing the art mixing of colors to finding a rock, and then switching gears and now painting a rock, they're able to transition pretty easily. They also have a pretty good working memory, so they'll be able to learn about the color mixing, remember it, and then apply it later. So they'll be able to mix the colors that they want, and to make their art. And another thing about this age group is they are fascinated and super curious about the world. They've had a lot of development in the frontal cortex, or the frontal lobes and the prefrontal cortex. And so this means that they are able to, they've developed classifications, seriation, reversibility, all of these different cognitive skills, which kind of helps them better understand the physical world. And so they're just super curious about that, and so it's super great to incorporate an activity that allows them to interact with nature and practice these skills. And it also allows me to give instructions. As you could see, I gave an instruction to find a flat rock that was the size of a coffee cup or the size of 2 hands. That's because they've developed seriation, which is the ability to categorize things by, or arrange items by length or width. So they have those skills. So important to practice those in whichever way you can. And later on you'll see, when all my participants come back with their rocks, we'll practice some classification during the discussions, putting what they saw and found in nature and putting them into categories or schemas that they've already developed in previous life experiences. Another note is that I have made pretty clear, short, direct instructions. I repeated them. I was very clear about boundaries and where they can go, and I checked for understanding before I let them go on to their task. So it's been about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna whistle up and all my participants come back to our art space. And so I welcome them back. Make sure that everyone has found a rock to paint on. Everyone has, that's great. And so let's go around and see what everyone saw. And so this is the part where I would facilitate a conversation. So someone might say they found a crab, and then I would ask questions like, oh, like how big was it? What color it was? That kind of a thing. Just getting them in the mindset of like thinking about the colors, because they might want to paint that later. So being kind of descriptive. And then I could ask like follow-up questions like, oh, like, did you see it in the ocean? Sometimes crabs live in the ocean, sometimes they're on land. Did anybody else see any animals or creatures that might have come from the ocean? And so this is just like practicing that classification. You might get answers like, I saw a starfish, or I saw a shellfish, or, you know, anything like that. So it's good practice of classification. All right, so now everyone has their rock, and we are ready to go back to our painting spaces. So we've brainstormed some ideas, everyone's had a chance to discuss what they saw and found. So using those ideas, what I want you to do now is I want you to paint whatever you want, using the environment and nature as your inspiration. So it could be something that you saw, could be something that somebody else mentioned, could be something that you're looking at right now. I want you to paint that on a rock, and remember, you can go back to the color chart if you need a reminder in how to make the colors that you need. Feel free to go back to the area where you saw your thing if you want to go look at it to see what color it was, and then come back to your art spaces right away to work on that. And one tip that I want to give is that we are only going to be painting on one side of the rock. Now, does anybody know the reason for this? So if I paint on one side of the rock and the paint is wet and I flip it over, what do you think would happen? It'd get smudged, it would be ruined, that's right. So yeah, we're only going to be painting on one side of the rock, and it's going to be whatever you think of, whatever nature inspiration came to mind, and I'm going to let you get to it. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to raise your hand and I'll come by to your workspace and we'll work on it together. And I'll help you generate ideas. I'll come around anyways just to check on everybody to make sure everyone is on track. So as my participants are all getting ready, yeah, there's just some more developmental aspects that I wanted to go over. So children of this age group, they're better able to plan ahead. They're able to organize, and they're able to be like creative. So they're able to envision what they want their painting to look like. So they don't need a lot of, already to like they don't need to like color in things. They can plan ahead now. So they don't need the shapes and fill those in. They can kind of come up with the image on their own. This age group is also, they've also developed some pretty good fine motor skills. So, and this will be a good practice for that, because, we're working with a paintbrush and we're painting on a rock with paint. So all these different textures and tools that they're using, they're all going to be really working on those muscles that really practice the fine motor skills. One thing to consider with this age group is also they've developed a stronger metacognition. So they understand more how well they are performing or not performing on a task, either based on their expectations of what they might want their painting to look like, or based on in comparison to what everyone else has painted. So it's important as a rec therapist to understand this and then help them work through that frustration. you know, you can just being more emotionally supportive, helping them, you know, encouraging them to make mistakes and turning mistakes into art. You know, art is full of beautiful mistakes. A smudge can be turned into a bird. Reminding them that, you know, if you do make a mistake, you can wait till the paint dries and you can always paint over it and start again. But just being really sort of supportive if you do notice any frustration. And yeah, I just wanted to also point out there's a lot of benefits to doing art in nature. You know, you have a connection to nature, you get all the benefits of the sunshine, it improves your mood, it reduces stress, it can be used as a healing, sort of self-expression, emotional regulation, all of the cognitive development aspects that I talked about earlier through the discussion are all being practiced here. So I'm gonna stop the video here because I can't switch my video over. Okay, so now I have my setup with all my paints and my water and my nice flat rock, and I got a little bit of paper underneath. I got a nice flat surface, and I'm gonna be modeling what a participant would be doing. So my participant saw a starfish that was purple, so helping them through how to do that. We remember that to make purple we need blue and red, and so you add a little bit of red to the blue and you should get a nice purple.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along
And ta-da, have a starfish. All right, and so now we're just gonna leave these, once everyone's all done, it looks like everyone's finishing up. When you're done, we're just gonna leave these in a nice sunny area, and I'm gonna turn things over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Danny. So while we wait for the paint to dry, let's think of some words to write down on our kindness rocks. Please use this time to get out pencils and paper so we can brainstorm. We're going to start by asking some questions that will help manifest some ideas for our kindness rocks. First question, what qualities do your friends have? I don't have any participants here, but they might think funny, friendly, or happy. Friends can be empathetic, easygoing, good listeners, forgiving, gentle, honest, authentic, genuine, reliable, sincere, or sweet. What about when you think of a parent or a family member? Maybe the words that come to mind are caring, compassionate, or inspiring. Family can be excellent, dependable, enjoyable, helpful, trustworthy, consistent, impressive, polite, proficient, intelligent, courteous, confident, considerate, or guiding. Does anyone have pets? If you do, what words come to mind when you think of your pet? Pets can show warmth, they can be loyal, they can be loving. Pets can be great companions, they can be energetic, they can be playful, adorable, cuddly, or clever. Let's use this time to continue brainstorming. Are there any words that make you feel good about yourself? What words empower you? What words make you feel strong? Have you chosen a word? Great. If you have, please make note of it. Let's use this time to reflect on how kindness rocks can make us feel. For example, if someone was having a bad day and they saw your kindness rock, how do you think it would make them feel? They might feel happier, more positive, or inspired. Is there any way else that they could feel? Let's start to think about where would we put our kindness rocks. Think of a place where it will be seen by others, but it will not be a tripping hazard. So let's try to avoid high traffic areas such as pathways. Okay, let's go look at our rocks. Are they dry? If your rock is dry, let's go grab our Sharpies and write down our words that we have chosen on our rocks. If you couldn't think of any word to draw or write on your rock, feel free to draw a symbol such as a smiley face, a heart, or a star. All right. Those kindness rocks are looking great. So now let's find a place for our rocks and place them in a chosen area. We will use this time to have a discussion with our participants. So we can start by asking how they feel after painting outside. Was it relaxing? Was it refreshing after being inside all day? How did it feel after leaving a positive message for our community? Was it inspiring? Was it exciting? Did it feel good to do something positive today? Lastly, ask your participants, why are these things so important? It is crucial to ask them and to get your participants to use their critical thinking skills. It is important to have a strong community, and it is important to be kind to others. In our age group from ages 10 to 12, bullying can be a common problem, but it is helpful to address these issues. We should be mindful and remind children to be kind to each other and get them thinking about ways that they can help each other. There are many benefits to group art projects. They can benefit children by improving many things such as self-confidence, independence, improving their health, cooperation and communication, to have better understanding of themselves and others, to appreciate other people's skills, to take pride in their own skills, to improve social skills and social interactions, to be supportive and encouraging of one another, to improve their learning, appreciate their differences between social and cultural groups, to have unity and develop friendships. The Kindness Rock Project has proven to have several benefits, including academic success, stronger social and emotional skills, less behavioral problems, positive social behavior, less emotional distress. This allows children to become active members of society and to be compassionate. Some of our key topics today have been self-awareness, community building, acceptance, being comrades to one another, and to address an important topic of bullying. It is important to let participants know if they are school-aged. It is really important to let them know that bullying does affect each other deeply, and to not stand for it and not be a bystander. It is important to let an authority figure or parent or any adult know that someone is being bullied and that it is not okay. It is especially important during this time of the pandemic to be able to promote positive messages. I'm sure we've all felt affected by that. So, thank you for your participation today. I hope that others will see your positive and thoughtful messages. I would also like to challenge the participants to 2 acts of kindness this week. It could be something like holding a door for another person, or even phoning a friend and just asking how they're doing. Is there anything else that you can think of? Awesome. All right, well, that concludes our workshop. So thank you so much for joining, and take care.